When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode. Yeah, that makes sense. I see them being the new industry customer, especially for executive protection, and that could definitely shift and change the whole industry. Because the old folks that are kind of phasing out, they wanted a team at their house. They wanted a residential security team at their house, day and night and shift. But the younger folk, the younger money coming in, they don't want it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of the tech mentality too in Silicon Valley. They just want to live their life, be left alone, do their work, do their thing.
Yeah.
So is there any advice you have for those folks that, like, not in Florida, but maybe in California? Is what you do the same everywhere around the world, kind of the same thing, same demands globally?
Yeah, just different accent.
Different accent.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much one estate manager in Florida is the same as an estate manager in D.C. or in Maryland or the Hamptons or New York. I mean, the only difference is the weather issues. I mean, we don't have forest fires here, but they don't have hurricanes in California. Well, I guess they have everything now in California. It's crazy. But, there's a lot of different things as far as climate and as far as geographical location, but the functionality of the maintenance aspect, running the house, taking care of the property, overseeing vendors and staff, that's all relatively the same. It's like, you have a Walmart in Florida, you have a Walmart in California, you kind of expect the same thing, So
it sounds like, like you said, one estate manager handles Florida, and then they'll handle the homes in California and Montana and Palm Springs probably.
Yeah.
Just that trust issue again.
Correct.
And what's the longevity of that stuff? I mean, does the money change with the transition, with the trust and all that? Does that happen where money kind of moves around within the family after someone dies? Is that kind of what takes place?
Yeah, I mean, I've known some people who have, we had a client pass away. I was with the client for 5 years, and when she passed away, the kids took over the estate. Everything went in the trust. He flew in and sat down with us because he was out of state and said, look, we're not changing anything. Every time we come and visit, we love the place. We've known them as well for the same time, but we weren't reporting to them.
Yeah.
And he just kind of said, this is what I want. This is what I want to see. And we've been on for another 2 years since that happened. So there's for us, there hasn't been that, but I know people who've worked for a Mr. or Mrs. that passed away, and the family liquidated everything, and they were at a job once everything was sold off or taken care of and closed, and they had to find new work, or the family gave them a type of severance that, lasted a little while where they could, bounce back and get on their feet. So that does happen. There's a very famous individual who died, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago. I was friends with him. He died in a tragic accident, and the estate was divided up. He no longer work there. The house was sold, and he kind of left and started working for the son. So, but the son clearly didn't have as much money as dad,
sure,
or a large, massive estate, but he stayed with the family. So they do transitions, and our loyalty sometimes is given back their loyalty to us because they see that we're there day and night, whatever hours of the day we're available, and we're giving our blood, sweat, and tears. And then when something happens, they do look out for us.
That's good to hear. Really good to hear. I'm sure some of them probably give you stock options, health benefits, and all that if they're set up a corporation or whatever. I've heard that's done.
I have an NDA and a confidentiality agreement, so I cannot confirm nor deny that.
There you go. Good answer. Good answer. Well, here. Can you walk the audience through who's the most important person working with the family estate? I would guess it's the executive assistant, probably, of that family. No, if you're a security guy, girl, working security.
I mean, my biased opinion and unbiased opinion is the estate and property, probably the estate manager. In my opinion, the estate manager covers every single thing from the edges to the interior. The property manager covers everything from the house outside. So they're dealing with the mechanics, the landscapers, the air conditioner units, the pool. They're not inside the house dealing with Mr. and Mrs. and the day-to-day activities, whereas the estate manager is. I mean, to me, for every property, I think the estate manager is always the go-to person, unless there's a chief of staff or a director of residences that report directly to the principals. And it's all, every property is different. Some people don't have a chief of staff. They have, I mean, I was called caretaker for 7 years that I worked for a client, even though I was promoted to estate manager. She always called me, introduced me as her caretaker, and I was fine with that because
there you go.
I took care of her, I took care of her property, I took care of her kids, took care of her dogs, took care of her husband, so I was taking care.
Yeah.
But people kind of like their titles, and when you get promoted, you want to be this and that and the other, and I get it. I mean, out in the Marine Corps, we all wanted that extra stripe and our shoulders to be bleeding after we got pinned. But I think the semantics of the hierarchy would be more like you have your chief of staff, director of residences, who would oversee multiple properties for that owner. If they had like 7 or 8 houses across the globe, that person would see that. Then you have your chief of staff, who would kind of tune in and oversee the estate managers at each property. And then you have your property manager, executive housekeepers. The executive PAs are kind of more of the peripheral, a buffer between Mr. and Mrs., or a fast backdoor to Mr. and Mrs., who kind of know their schedules, their calendars, and all of that stuff.
Wow, that's wild. It's almost like what do you call that? The hierarchy of the organization.
Yeah, I mean it's not different than a corporation.
That's what I was thinking.
Your CFO, your CEO, and it's just where you fall in on that chart is.
Everybody has a report they have to report to.
Yeah.
And so you probably have to do background checks on all these vendors, make sure they're clear. Especially it depends on who the family is, and you have to have Secret Service coming in and out. They always have to do background check monthly.
Even the people who are not super wealthy, all of my guys are background checked. They're all done state, criminal, federal. What are those things called? Your financial background check. Credit checks are done as well.
Wow.
I mean, you don't want someone in $200,000 debt going into a millionaire's house with that temptation there. So you want to focus on, what type of individuals you're hiring and bringing in. And everybody signs a confidentiality agreement and an NDA.
They have to. Because most of these families have internal lawyers, right? And they write these contracts, and they got to cover their liabilities.
Yeah, they're all cookie cutter. They're shipped out right away.
What do you enjoy most about what you do now?
Oh, wow. I think number one is dealing with the principal directly, which to me is great because I picked up as an entrepreneur dealing with these very successful business owners and deal makers and people. It's like something you just don't get. There's what's his name? Napoleon Hill wrote a book, and he was talking about his opportunity to meet with all of these wealthy, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, and all of these people. And he had the opportunity to go do that. And he was saying that's like not everybody in the world has that chance. And, meeting with these individuals and hearing just 4 or 5 minutes of their communication and how they carry themselves and how they handle situations of high stress or high money, when there's millions of dollars being discussed, to be a part of that conversation is very educational if you're listening properly. It's also a very humbling moment because you get to see things happen. I've seen legislation made in some rooms of clients' homes that they were talking about legislation for stuff that's going to be shipped to Capitol Hill the next day and drafted up. Those opportunities I don't take lightly. But I have little stickies all around. You can't see it because the opposite camera, but I got little stickies all around my office of things that I've heard billionaires and multimillionaires say that I wrote down, and I keep them in front of me, and I impose them in my day-to-day activities. And they're just like amazing nuggets that I get. I get paid to do my job, of course, and I charge my clients, but I also pick up a lot of insight and education through observing these individuals and how they interact with others.
So you're getting a master class in how to build a business by multi-billionaires. And,
exactly right.
And you're getting paid for it. It's like you don't even have to go to Harvard, Yale, Stanford to get an MBA. You're just getting on-the-job training, and you're like, holy cow, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's very amazing because there's one client, every time I sit down with him, he's a financial guy, I always have my pad and I write down 4 or 5 little anecdotes that he says. He'll always tell us a story about when he was a kid and what his dad did and how he made his money and certain little caveats like that. But then there's always a nugget that he gives us, and he's talking to me and my brother. He says, fellas, I'm going to tell you something here. And I have learned so much from that gentleman. It's been such a blessing to work for him over these years. And and then after we're done with our meeting about the property and the invoices and the bills and the changes and all that, he asks, what can he do for us?
Wow.
And that's huge. And I've asked him business questions, and we've had conversations about, the direction of my company. And, I would never be able to afford to go out and get that advice.
No, that's a $20,000 tab. You go to a conference.
Yeah. So.
Wow, that's crazy. That's just fascinating. Being a Marine, wanting to expand my wisdom in my business to invest in myself to make smart decisions. Because what I'm hearing right now, I have a mentor in a different organization that he was a former NFL football player. He said, if I give you any advice, Mark, right now, congratulations on your business success, blah, blah, blah. Buy real estate. Because of inflation. Like, oh, really? Yeah. If you invest in anything, invest in real estate right now because inflation will continue to go. I'm like, didn't think about that.
Right. Yeah, it's good stuff. One of these things that I get in and that I learn, I'm able to help other business owners and other people through my coaching. And when I see a young guy come up who just started his pressure washing business, I'm like, who's your mentor? Who's teaching you about your business? Nobody. I'm like, here I am.
Let me help you.
Yeah. And it's great. So I don't just learn it all for me. I learn it so I can, give it back to others and help them grow because people helped me grow. So I have to continue helping others grow.
Did that come from your military background?
I think so. I think it came from military background. I think it came from my belief system that I have set up and my faith. And I think just being a good person is what people should do, regardless of where we're from, how we're raised, who we served with, whether we join the service or not. A person's heart is the most important and defining thing that really, I think, gets people, interested in who you are.
Totally agree. The servant's heart, that goes a long way as people see that. They get attracted to that, builds the trust.
Yeah, agreed.
Wow. So as we get ready to wrap up this, we've been almost on about 45 minutes here. Any advice you want to give out there to those folks that, thought about getting into your industry or military folks? Like you said, network, find someone, who's opened the door. Like you said, there's got to be a door of opportunity opened up to somebody that can be trustworthy.
There is. I've actually reached out to the agencies, as I was telling you earlier, when they like to have 3 to 5 years. I say, have you had anybody call who's not qualified? Send them my way, because I'd rather hire them and train them and they get an opportunity to see if this is the industry they'd want to be in than them not get that opportunity. Because if I didn't have good mentors around me and I didn't have opportunities, I would not be sitting here on this podcast tonight talking to you. Or just leaving, the billionaire's house to come home and talk to you. I would probably be doing something totally different or kept with the handyman business. Who knows? But I think having good mentorship around you and good, solid individuals who want to see you succeed is the best way that you can advance yourself. Join networks. There's a lot of state manager networks out there. There's a lot of groups that you can connect with. LinkedIn, I think, is really good because it's worldwide to Instagram. And it's more professional also.
Yeah.
The platforms out there. So I think you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn and say that you heard me through Mark's podcast, and I can help you get directions. I have friends in this industry around the country. So wherever you are, I'm sure there's someone I can connect you with to help either coach you or mentor you through that next phase. And sometimes it might be just a phone call or two to see, if this is what you want to do and how we can get you started in it.
I know a lot of people spend time on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Of all the platforms for business, do you think LinkedIn's probably the best for networking versus Instagram and Facebook? I just don't see Instagram and Facebook being a really good networking platform for me.
I think you get a different flavor from each platform.
Right.
My platform that I've spent my energy and time and efforts in is LinkedIn. Although we have a Instagram page, my wife runs it. She does postings for us. And I see value in that because people that I would like to connect with do a lot of posting, especially very high-end designers, architects, real estate people that are in my environment who I follow and I look up to are on there. So I'm following them for their content. And then on LinkedIn, I try to be the person who's giving out valuable content. So I think each platform, you need to really decide what it's going to serve you for, if it's going to be worth your time or not. But I think, for me, it is LinkedIn because I've educated myself on it. I've spent a lot of time on LinkedIn. I've been on it for over 20 years.
Wow.
And I can't even believe it's been that long.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And that's when it was a very boring platform. And now it's
very boring.
Yeah. So I think for me, it is LinkedIn from the business perspective, but I think from also the reaching out perspective, I think Instagram is good because you can quickly see who's industry leaders by their followers, by their content they're posting, and then you can find out if they're on LinkedIn.
That's when you do the credit check, identify check to see if they're real.
Exactly. And I always do that. As soon as I get an email from someone, even like with you, first thing I do is put the name in LinkedIn and see if they come up. Because that's the quickest way to see, as opposed to Instagram where there's 700,000 Chris Smiths. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, yeah.
Well, you know what I found interesting? When I got on LinkedIn 3 years ago, I think I had 1,900 connections.
Yeah.
And after launching the podcast, I think we're now almost 8,000.
Wow, that's great.
Just be having a podcast show, hiring someone to do social media posts because I don't know what works and what doesn't. These algorithms change on a daily basis. So now you have so much. You have newsletters now and carousel stuff. I'm like, it's so freaking scientific. I can't figure it out.
Right.
But you're right. It's just you get what you put into it, like anything.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think as people start looking for work, people getting laid off. I don't think people realize how powerful a tool LinkedIn is. Really, I think it's a waste of time. It's just how you, like you said, how you utilize it.
Yeah, for me, it's an online resume, and I send it to my clients because if they can see me on social media and see my posting content and see my work experience without it being a piece of paper handed to them, I think it's a little bit more. It's nice when you can scroll on someone's resume and click on things. Instead of just, here's a piece of paper, and then that's it. It's only the black and white. There's no in between. So if I click on Christopher's company and I see, he was pressure washing last week. He was changing light bulbs in 35-foot ceilings. We have 35-foot ceilings. I didn't know he chauffeurs. He takes people to their appointments or the dogs to the vet. That's great. I see this, and it just gives them a live action of a live snapshot, of what we do.
Do you surf in South Florida? Do you guys surf out there? Or is the wave big enough?
Well, it's when you grow up with small waves, they're always big.
So, what do you guys golf out there? You guys golf? I know golfing is big out there and snorkeling, right?
Oh, come on! This is Florida. Everything's big out here except for skiing. We hike, we bike, we fly, we surf.
Yeah.
I haven't surfed in a while, but I was just talking to someone today about getting a new board because I have an old 9.6, and I think I'm old enough and fat enough for a 10.2 now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's waves today. I think it was 5 to 6 foot today.
Those are pretty big for Florida.
Yeah, we got that little swell came through, and every time we get a nice cold front, there's a nice swell that comes through with it. So yeah.
And then you got hurricane season probably in a few more months, right?
Yep, June 1st.
June 1st. Everybody's going to be
5.5 feet today.
Oh wow, that's pretty big down there.
Yeah.
Wow.
High 76.
Dang. It's right now. It's cool, no humidity, right? It's perfect.
Yeah, and that's why everyone's flocking here.
I hear they get restless about summertime. They all want to leave and go somewhere else, right? They all start sweating.
It's right after Easter. A lot of the Northerners leave after Easter. They go back up for their spring flowers and all that stuff back up northeast. And then the Californians, they like heat. The Texans like heat because it's okay to stay until June, and then they're out.
They can't handle that 90% humidity.
Yeah.
Well, great stuff. Hey, audience, if you're listening, probably are listening. It's a podcast, for goodness sakes. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, go on a podcast platform, give us a 5-star rating. It helps with the algorithms. And then go on to YouTube and hit that like button so it makes that thumb go up and goes bling. And, just let us know what you think about the podcast in the comments. And then follow Chris on LinkedIn if you want to get to know him. He's there. And let us know what you think. And, that wraps up the podcast for today. I'm sure he wants to go eat dinner now and spend time with his family. So you got it. So, folks, thanks for tuning in. And I hope this is educational. And for those thinking about getting in the estate management world, this is kind of what it looks like. So we'll catch you on the next episode of the Fearless Mindset Podcast. See you next time.